Now, thank you very much for that. Now, when you're talking about buying the property, there are two ways to buy it. You either buy it in your personal name. So typically, if you're going to homestead is basically you're buying that property and you want to live in that property. So
Okay.
it makes sense to buy it in your personal name. But say you want to use it as an investment, generally the advice is you use an LLC. And the reason is because if there's a lawsuit for the tenant, and tenants here, America is a very litigious country. You have to know that people can sue people for whatever reason. There's at least your liability exposure is the company. They don't come after your personal assets, except the courts decide to pierce the veil of incorporation, which is hardly the case, except there's a fraud or any pertinent reason. So can you talk us through, for instance, now, if I buy the property in my personal name, what are the tax implications when I come to sell for capital gains purposes, as opposed to buying it on an LLC name? So if I just to buy, I know if I buy it in my name, I think the first $250,000 that I make, I think I'm entitled to keep that, and for a couple $500,000. But for the LLC, if I make $200,000 selling my property using an LLC, what are my tax implications?
So first of all, if you buy the property in your name, and are you intending to live in the house, or is it for rental? You have to keep that in mind. If you buy in
to live in the house, with my homestead.
So you are a resident. That means you're a U.S. resident. Okay. So now we're focusing on the primary owner, not an investor. So from that standpoint of a primary owner, not an investor, you have to live in the house for a minimum of 2 to 3 years, then you can sell. So after selling at that time, the $250 as an individual is non-taxable. Then anything above that, then you pay taxes on it. Keep in mind, because you've lived it more than a year, it's no longer short-term, it's now a long-term investment, because you've lived more than a year on that property. Then you are looking at the capital gains taxes will be between 0 to 20%. But if you buy a property and decide to sell within the year, then it becomes a short-term investment. Then that will be taxed as an ordinary. It will be taxed as an ordinary income, which will go from 0 to 35, 37%.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So for those that are living in America, made it that property their primary home and actually homesteaded, that means there's a process of registering it with the county that this is your home. There are quite a few protection that comes with it, and one of it, as she mentioned, is that if you stay there for 2-3 years, the first $250,000 as an individual you don't pay taxes on, $500,000 for couples. So there is a lot of benefits for buying properties in your name, and even investments in real estate as an asset, because a lot of people seem to think, oh, never buy things in your name, this is what happens. So we know that for homestead. Now let's move into investment.
Your point. Yeah, to buttress your point on the homestead too, that's to new property, first-time buyers and all that. Once you buy a property, the first thing you want to do is to change your driver's license to the property's address, then apply for homestead. What homestead does is it reduces the assessed amount. So for example, if property is $400,000, if you qualify for homestead, then maybe 20% from the property value will be deducted before calculating property taxes, which is a good benefit. Those are savings. But like I said, you must be a local. You must live on that property to benefit from that. If you're a foreign investor, you cannot benefit from homestead.
Yeah.